You're listening and watching in some cases to Andrew Hawnt's Rock Revival. I'm Andrew Hawnt, my name in the title, so it may as well be me presenting it. This is a show all about rock and metal albums, both classic and obscure. If you don't know who I am, I'm an author and writer, screenwriter, comic geek, gamer and type stuff. And I used to write for Powerplay rock and metal magazine here in the UK, where I would interview rock stars, review albums and DVDs and books and all kinds of stuff like that. And I really missed it, so I thought I would do this and talk about music on a show, on as a podcast and as VOD on YouTube, on my channel on YouTube. So this episode will be a very special one for me because this is the last episode in this current series. I'm taking a break from doing the Rock Revival for a little while because I want to kind of reevaluate all the content I put out. I'm putting out a lot of content at the moment, as well as my Rock Revival podcast. I have my Planet Hex YouTube channel and my channel That Retro Life, as well as a writing career, a full-time job, 2 children, 2 cats, marriage and all kinds of stuff. And you know, it's piling up. I kind of really need to reevaluate things. So for this episode, to end this first series, as I'm calling it, for Andrew Hawnt's Rock Revival, I'm going to cover not 1 and not 2, but 3 albums this time. 3 albums that aren't that famous, but really should be, in my opinion, because they are really quite wonderful. And I love them dearly. And I would say that these 3 albums in particular are as important to me as things like, you know, Hysteria by Def Leppard or the Black Album by Metallica, or, you know, the definitive albums that people will talk about that really stood the test of time. For me, these 3 albums have really stood the test of time. So the first one I'm going to talk about on this episode will be The Love Drag Years by Starstar. This is a really unique record. So it's pictured here on the video as the tape cover. I've chosen that image because I had it on tape rather than other formats, although I do have it on download now, officially free from the Starstar website. So this is the only album this band put out on, I think it was Roadrunner that they put it out on. And it came out in the early 90s. Let me get my research page up and I can tell you exactly when it came out. So it came out in 1992. And it is a fantastic mix of hard rock, glam, punk. There's all kinds of things on there. And by glam, I don't mean like Poison and Tough and such like. I mean more in a Mark Bolan, T-Rex, New York Dolls sort of glam, with a bit of the Ramones thrown in. But this album is heavy. It's really heavy, considering it is a glam stroke punk stroke rock record. It's a really chunky sound to it. Now, the thing you will notice the most about Starstar is the voice of Johnny, the vocalist, which is kind of a little bit nasal, but it fits very, very well with the sort of kitsch, sleazy sort of hard rock sound that they've got going on. The album opens with Flyboy, which is a really good, not violent, I was going to say violent, this isn't Machine Head, it's Starstar. A really powerful, raucous rock song. Sort of like, if you imagine Skid Row covering T-Rex, I think that sort of sums it up, with a bit of Quiet Riot in there. There's all kinds of things going on in there. That is followed by the first single, Science Fiction Boy, which has a really cheesy yet very memorable refrain. And it's a very poppy song. It's a very poppy, punky glam song. However, it's got a really damn heavy riff to it. That is followed by the title track, The Love Drag Years. Now that song alone, in my opinion, is one of the greatest hard rock songs of that generation. Seriously, I know I'm prone to hyperbole on this channel. I do apologise. Actually, I don't. I love this stuff. But go and check out the song itself, The Love Drag Years, the title track from this album by Starstar. It is a note-perfect hard rock song. It's got drama, it's got theatre, it's got a huge fist-pumping chorus, a really chunky sound to it. It's really, really powerful. So after Science Fiction Boy and The Love Drag Years, the album does take a little dip with Nervous and Cowboys in Space. good songs, but they do dip the quality a little bit, and after what's come before. Thankfully, that's brought back up by Baby Shoulda Known and Groovy Guru Gangster Girl, because how can you not love these tracks? Baby Shoulda Known has a bit of a enough's enough feel to it, but enough's enough in the harder moments. I do wholeheartedly recommend that. Groovy Guru Gangster Girl, it's a 70s style glam stompy thing. Diggy Dragster is a bit like that, as is closing track My Little Cousinette. Cousinette? I can't say that. Before that track, though, there is Treasure or Trash, which takes everything back to the power of Flyboy that opened up the album, and it's just fantastic. It's a really good way to round off the album, so I do wholeheartedly recommend you check out The Love Drag Years by Star. They have come back as a band called Scream Idol. So if you look up Scream Idol, there's new music from Star, and you can get The Love Drag Years as a free legal download from their website, which is awesome. Now, unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, a couple of the band died. I believe a couple of the band passed away, which was really, really sad. But Scream Idol featuring Johnny is still going, and I'm really, really hope that they are going for a long time to come, because their new music is just as powerful as the Star stuff was. Wholeheartedly recommend that. Right, the next album I'm going to talk about tonight that was really important to me. It's another odd one. It is Built to Perform by Phantom Blue. Now, this was the second album by Phantom Blue, and I think it was their final one as well. I think it was they only did the two, I believe. Or I think they're still going in some form. I'm not entirely sure. So this album came out in 1993 on Roadrunner and Geffen, and I think Geffen had licensed it from Roadrunner, or did Geffen own Roadrunner? I've lost track. It was produced by Max Norman, and I bring up Max Norman because he did an incredible job. This is heavy as hell. So the first album that Phantom Blue put out was kind of a glam metal sound, a kind of straightforward glam rock of the 80s hairband sort of thing, sort of akin to Vixen. Which I had nothing against Vixen. I love Vixen, in particular their album Rev It Up. But Phantom Blue became their own thing with this second album. So right from the off, instead of the clearly glam metal cover of the first album, you've got this awesome like dragster racing rock girl, riot girl, in a tartan skirt and big boots and leather jacket, cool logo, Built to Perform. So this is a really, really powerful rock album, and it's seriously criminal that this wasn't bigger. It blows my mind that this album wasn't massive. So it opens with Nothing Good. Bear in mind, alternative rock was the thing of the day when this came out in 93. However, this album is not an alternative rock record. It is down-tuned, it is chunky, it is a metal record with rock structures. So the songs, they are rock songs, but they are dark and heavy rock songs, and there's no doubt about it, the backing is metal. So it's got Nothing Good, Time to Run, which has got an amazingly, how do I describe it? It's kind of Eastern lead part to it, which is just amazing. There's a cover of Thin Lizzy's Bad Reputation on there. That is followed by My Misery, which was a single for the album. You can find the video to that on YouTube, and that's again a powerful single, and again reminds me of Skid Row coming up a lot recently. That's followed by Little Man, which is a proper feminist anthem, and it's very, very powerful, and male, female, whatever, this is a great song. You will love it, honestly. If you like rock music, you will love this song. Better Off Dead is awesome. Anti-Love Crunch, which opens with the sound of a tampon being opened, is another heavy-ass song, and it's just superb. The guitar work from the late Michelle Meldrum on this is incredible, and the voice that just powers along throughout all of these songs by Gigi Hinash is just stunning. It's a raspy, powerful, gutsy voice, sort of like a metal Sass Jordan, and honestly, it's criminal that this was not bigger than it was. Loved You to Pieces, So Easy, Lied to Me, A Little Evil, and You're Free complete this album, and there is not a bad song on this. I thought it was a little bit weird that the Bad Reputation cover was so early in the album. I would have bumped that down between Little Man and Better Off Dead, just for a bit more better placement, just to my ears. But it is a wholeheartedly recommended album. It has some interesting guests on it as well. Got A.T. Das in studio additional guitar, but it also has solos from John Norum and Marty Friedman. And honestly, Michelle Meldrum's guitars are perfect alongside them, and you really don't hear the join. That's how good of a musician she was. Sadly, she did pass away a few years ago, and is remembered fondly as an incredibly talented musician. Really recommend this album. Built to Perform by Phantom Blue. Absolutely essential listening, and once you hear it, you will understand why I think this is criminally underrated. So yeah, that was a very special one. I got that from Andy's Records. If anyone in the UK remembers Andy's Records, well done, because that kind of disappeared out of to nothing, didn't it, quite quickly. So, after Phantom Blue, my last album I'm going to talk about for this series of Andrew Hawnt's rock revival will be, drum roll, that was a rubbish drum roll, Andrew, Exciter's Unveiling the Wicked. Now, I have quite a history with this album. So I'm going to go back to the beginning for this album. This is a straightforward heavy metal album. It's not seen as Exciter's best. They were known for helping to create thrash and speed metal with things like Long Live the Loud and Violence and Force and Heavy Metal Maniac. This is their fourth album, Unveiling the Wicked, came out in 1986 and is not as highly revered, but to me this is the definitive one. Personally, I love this album over the others. I do have all the others, I love them equally, but I love this one dearly because it was my first, and this is one of the albums that I was introduced to through the film Trick or Treat. Now, anyone that's familiar with, anyone that knows me or has seen my other stuff about VHS, like my book VHS Ate My Brain, or the videos I've done on this, Trick or Treat is one of my favourite films ever. It's a heavy metal horror movie in which a heavy metal fan accidentally resurrects his dead metal idol who has come back as a Freddy Krueger style demon, but one that is dressed like Nikki Sixx, and causes mayhem in a local town by blowing people up with a lightning firing guitar and that sort of thing, you know, and pulling Ozzy Osbourne out of a TV. No, pulling an old lady out of a TV. He does destroy Ozzy Osbourne as well. It's got Gene Simmons in it as a DJ. But that film aside, Exciter was one of the albums that Eddie, the main character, his mum picks up in Eddie's bedroom one night when she's going through and looking through all these albums that she really didn't kind of approve of. There was one by Impaler, there was Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good by Megadeth, and there was Exciter, Unveiling the Wicked in a pile, and I thought, I need that. The artwork on it, tacky as it is, I knew I needed that in my life. So I said to my mum, I need to find that album at all costs, and miraculously I found it in a second-hand record store not long after that for £1, and I was 12 at the time. Yes, I was 12-year-old watching 18 movies, but they had no effect on me. I said, can I earn £1 so I can come buy this record? She's like, yeah, all right. So I cut back some bushes in the back garden and earned £1. So the next day I went over and it was still there, and I spent £1 on this album, and I still have the vinyl. That's still with my vinyl upstairs. It still plays beautifully, and I love every single thing about this album. This is a pure heavy metal album in the purest sense of the word, and yeah, it's not the most loved album that Exciter put out. However, it is definitely the most dear to me. So if you're not familiar with Exciter, they're raucous heavy metal. In their DNA, I'd say there's some Motorhead in there, and you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. The early albums were a bit chaotic with the original guitarist John Ricci. This album had a guitar player called Brian McPhee on it, who was a much more traditional sort of metal guitarist. Didn't have the thrashy and punk edge that John Ricci had. And you could also hear his solos, which you couldn't always do with John Ricci because he was kind of improvising everything by the sound of it. But anyway, yeah, it has a very raw production. It came out on Music for Nations on June 15th, 86. And it was reissued through Megaforce in 2005. I had the reissue CD as well, which is awesome because it was remixed by Jeff Waters from Annihilator, and he included the sound of the stylus hitting the vinyl. I thought that was genius. I was just so pleased to hear that. It doesn't have the best production, but he did do a good job with the remixing of it. But with the source material, the production was never that clear. It does distort sometimes the production on the album, which is a shame. However, the most noticeable thing about Exciter is the voice of Dan Beehler, who has this high-pitched, piercing scream, but it's not like a clean scream like you would expect from, say, Michael Sweet from Stryper or something like that, no, or Mike Matijevic from Steelheart. This is or Midnight for Crimson Glory comes to mind as well. This is a more raw, dry scream, and it works very well with the fast-paced metal on offer here. So the first song on the album is Break Down the Walls. Every 80s metal band needed a song called Break Down the Walls, didn't they? I think that was the law at the time. And that's straight away you know this is a different band to what went previously with things like Violence and Force. The guitar is a lot cleaner and more punchy, and the structure is a more straightforward heavy metal than the raucous thrash of the first few albums. So Break Down the Walls, perfect metal song. However, this is followed by Brainstorm, which is a guitar instrumental. It's literally just guitar, and I love it because it's full of tapping and so on, but it's kind of messily recorded. It distorts all over the place, and it's a weird placing to have an instrumental as the second track, and it's literally just Brian McPhee shredding for like a minute and a half. And I do love it, but I think again that would be better to end like the first side with it or something. It doesn't really work as a second track. However, that is followed by Die in the Night, which has a really powerful, punchy, fist pumping feel to it. And that the album has a lot of moments like that on it, especially on the following track, I Hate School Rules. So with I Hate School Rules, which has a huge proper 80s metal chorus, you can tell he's channeling some Twisted Sister and some Wasp in there, in the disregard for high school life. And with there's like bits of voiceover in it and things like that. It has a bit of a feel to Peace Cells era Megadeth as well, and I just love it. I love it dearly. It's cheesy as all hell, but it works. And you know, sometimes you need a bit of cheese. Applewood smoked cheddar for me, if you please. That's followed by Shout It Out, which is fast and heavy, and again, I think most metal bands needed a song called Shout It Out at the time. That is followed by the oh yeah, by the way, that would close out the first side of the vinyl. So the vinyl is split into two sides, side heavy and side metal. You see why I loved this album at the time. Like, yes, it's so metal it doesn't have side 1 and side 2 or A and B. It has side heavy and side metal. So the second side opens with Invasion and Waiting in the Dark, which is 5 minutes 41. Great song, got some pace to it, some decent drumming. Dan Beehler is also the drummer as well as the vocalist, which again makes Exciter stand out. How many metal bands do you know with a singing drummer? But it's not as powerful as things like I Hate School Rules or Break Down the Walls, but it's solid. However, that is followed by Living Evil, which is just shy of 7 minutes long and kicks butt. That's got a more sort of it's got a Sabbath feel to the riffs. It's lengthy, but it does have a really good hook to it, and I loved that song so much that at the time I learned how to play the chorus as a 12-year-old. I learned it on guitar and stole the chorus for one of my own demos. Funnily enough, for a song called Living Evil. Sorry, Dan. Don't worry, it never got released anywhere. But that was me as a 12-year-old trying to sound like Brian McPhee and Dan Beehler and bassist Alan Johnson. So after that is followed by Live Fast, Die Young, which is like a quintessential Exciter song. That is fast and loud and ridiculous and marvellous. Topped off with Dan Beehler's screech. That Live Fast, Die Young is a really good example of what this band is about, I feel. And I think that song is the most like what came before with their earlier stuff. And the album ends with Mission Destroy, which is kind of mid-paced, not plodding, but it has a bit of a stompy feel to it. Doesn't end the album on a low note or a high note. It just ends the album, and It's okay. It's okay. It's not one of the better songs like "Live Fast, Die Young," but it's a damn fine album. And I didn't realize until much later that it wasn't seen as an incredible album by everyone that never heard it, because it's different to what came before. And I get that. But however, this is my Exciter album. I got the ones all around it and love them all. Until Dan Beeler left, they went through quite a lengthy period with different vocalists, and that never really worked for me. It's Dan Beeler in Exciter. As far as I'm concerned, it's Dan Beeler or nothing. Sorry, but I got the other albums, but didn't love them anywhere near as much as the ones with Dan Beeler on. Things like the Dark Command were all right. Was it the other one, Thrash Speed Burn? That was pretty good, but again, without Dan Beeler, it didn't sound like Exciter to me. It just sounded like a metal band, and that's fine. That's fine. But if I want an Exciter, I want albums with Dan Beeler on. And Unveiling the Wicked, it's one of the most important albums to me out of everything I've ever had, and I will never get rid of that. The cover to the vinyl is getting a bit battered because I've displayed it so many times. It's been on the wall, it's been on shelves, it's been in with my vinyl. But that's one that's really special to me because I recorded that onto a tape so I could have it on my Walkman when I was walking around, and I felt like Eddie Weinbauer out of Trick or Treat, drowning out the bullies, drowning out all the bad stuff that was going on around the world at the time and around me in my little my childhood world. Mainly bullies, because my school was full of dicks. There's no two ways about it. It was a vile place. So I drowned it out with music, with loud music. The louder the better. And Unveiling the Wicked by Exciter was definitely one of the loudest. And I'm so grateful that I had it and I still have it. It's one of those albums that's been there for me, and I'm not going to turn my back on it, as I will never turn my back on rock and metal. And I'm not turning my back on the show. I'm taking a little break from it, that's all. It will return once I decide what to do with things going forward, because my creative career is always changing. And I always want to try and do different things. I don't want to stop doing this. But I need to make sure when it comes back for the second series that there are more people listening, so it can justify the hosting costs that are involved in putting it out. And I don't know, we'll see. I am putting this on YouTube as well, so I'm recording this visually as well as the audio, so it may come back as a YouTube show. I don't know, because I'm always looking for things to put on my YouTube channel. So my main channel on YouTube is Planet Hex. Please do subscribe and check that out. I put a lot of pop culture stuff on there, a lot of things about VHS collecting and gaming and things like that. I do have a second channel, That Retro Life, all about that retro life we are living and how we live it. And but that one's taking a break as well as of this week. Well, there'll be one more episode, then it's going to take a break as well. I will focus on my Planet Hex channel, because that's the one where it seems to really be getting some traction lately with a lot of stuff, and I'm really grateful for everyone for listening to this show. Andrew Hawnt's Rock Revival will return. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and validate my existence.